There seems to be no stopping the prince as he continues his 21-year-long series in Ubisoft's recently released platformer, Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. Though the 2008 Prince of Persia was a critical success, many fans were calling for Ubisoft's head on a platter after changing the appearance and playstyle of the prince. Is The Forgotten Sands the return to form that so many were hoping for, or is this just another near miss?
This must be what she meant by giving me more time. Are these the powers of the Jinn?
Despite the countless times she saved the prince from certain death, Ubisoft has tossed Elika aside. It's up to the prince to save his own hide once again, using the rewind feature that the Prince of Persia series remade its reputation with 7 years ago. The prince himself has also undergone a redesign. Losing his Final Fantasy-esque scarved appearance, he's now a little younger, and kinda whiny.
These gears must run the palace's defenses. They look more dangerous than the traps.
The story tosses our young prince into his brother's war-torn fortress, which from the exterior looks awfully similar to Minas Tirith from the Lord of the Rings films. The two princes split up in the enormous fortress to find a way to stop the sand army that is destroying the kingdom. As both brothers destroy more and more sand soldiers, they gain more and more power.
You must be careful! I've started the palace's defense system! There are traps everywhere!
I noticed.
The voice acting is passable, but it's not fantastic. I think it's time someone passes Ubisoft the memo that Persian princes don't speak with British accents, especially while the rest of their subjects and kingdoms speak with more geographically correct inflections. Their voices seem out of place, like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Does Ubisoft really think they'll lose buyers, or they'll be confusing their audiences if they provide their main characters with something other than a British or an American accent? It's far from the worst acting we'll hear this year, but from Ubisoft's pedigree, we should all expect a little more.
Malik, this is madness. You have to get out of here. Save yourself and what's left of your people.
My people are all but dead. You've seen for yourself the palace has fallen. There's no other way.
When it comes to combat, Forgotten Sands leans more towards quantity and less towards quality, which is a complete reversal from the original Prince of Persia. The enemies are rock stupid and can be spammed to death by using the same 2 or 3 combinations. The end result looks beautiful as the camera pans around strategically to cinematic locations, but no matter how many enemies the game throws at you, there's never a true challenge. Since there's a very small variety in attack combinations, there also isn't a very big sense of entitled power either. When the enemies are defeated, they almost instantly disappear from the environment. The effect feels out of place, like it belongs in a Japanese role-playing game. The combat is passable, but it's nothing to write home to mom about. The platforming is where Prince of Persia truly shines, as it's some of the best you'll find on any system. Junkies who love platforming from the past Prince of Persia games and the more recent Lara Croft games will love some of the hand and foot puzzles. It might take a little while for the game to warm up to the good stuff. In fact, the first hour and a half to 2 hours provide some very yawn-worthy platforming puzzles, but they definitely pick up and become very satisfying. The platform controls are slightly imprecise. The right index finger controls your wall running and your left index finger controls your magic. They're far from game-breaking, but the platforming can sometimes feel like little exercises in index finger controls. On a positive note, the platform controls are instantaneously responsive. When in combat, however, the prince has a little bit of a backswing that needs some getting used to. As you continue through the game, the prince gains special powers that makes combat a little more fun and increases the difficulty of the platforming. Defeating enemies gives you experience that you can then use to power up magic, health, and special powers. It's all standard fare video gaming at this point. All in all, Prince of Persia: Forgotten Sands is a passable experience. I'm grateful that this isn't just another movie video game adaptation. I wouldn't recommend rushing out and purchasing it at full price unless you're a die-hard fan of the series. In terms of platforming, you probably won't find much better this year. Overall, though, this is not a must-play experience like so many other great games that have already hit the market in the past few months. A rental will serve most of the gaming world just fine, and it'll be a pretty good bargain when it falls around the $35 range. Prince of Persia fans will probably enjoy this entry enough to keep them satisfied until the next entry in this highly profitable series, which I'm certain won't be far off.